Today our topic is the multidisciplinary nature of environmental studies. It is from the subject environmental science. Let's see. What is environment first of all? Environment is the sum total of water, air and land interrelationships among themselves and also with the human being, other living organisms and property. This is the definition of environment science. So the scope of environment science is, it is a multidisciplinary science, as we all know, whose basic aspect have a direct relevance to every section of the society. It is used, its main aspects are conservation of nature and natural resources, conservation of biological diversity, control of environmental pollution, stabilization of human population and environment, social issues in the relations to the development and environment, development of the non-polluting renewable reagent energy system and providing new dimension to the security. Environment belongs to all the living beings and thus is important to all. The main issues in the environment science in today's world are global warming, depletion of ozone layer, dwindling forests, energy resources and loss of global diversity. So the study of how humans interact with the environment is the main basic of environment science. Our environment is everything that surrounds us, both natural as well as man-made, that is artificial. Environment is the total of our surrounding. All things around us which we interact, that is the living things which include animals, plants, forests, fungi, and the non-living things, that is continents, oceans, clouds, soil, rocks, etc. Our built environment means buildings, all the artificial things, human created living centers, social relationships and institutions. Natural resources vital to human survival. Natural resources means substances and energy sources needed for survival. Renewable resources perpetually available, that is sunlight, wind, waves, which can renew themselves, means we can use them again and again. They cannot be destroyed. Non-renewable resources which can be depleted, that is oil, coal, which can be over. So now evolution of university. What is cosmology? It is the study of the origin, present structure, evolution and destiny of the universe. Two basic models are the steady state and the evolutionary state. Three theories about the origin of the universe is the Big Bang theory, which was given by Edwin Hubble, the steady state theory given by Hermann Bondi, Fred Hoyle and Thomas Gould, the oscillating universe theory, which was given by Fred Hoyle. The Big Bang theory. The universe started from the very hot dense fireball known as Yell that exploded. We all know Big Bang theory was like the whole universe exploded, was an explosion from the small ball known as Yell, bringing streams of gases containing proton, neutron and electron to immerse in the vast ocean of radiation. The whole universe is a radiation and protons, electrons and neutrons are included in them. After the explosion, the M cooled and contracted, giving birth to the universe. The universe that exists today is the product of the continuous expansion and contraction. The expansion still continues and the distance between galaxies continues to increase. This is the diagram of when Big Bang means it is not a diagram, it is an imaginary image. Big Bang theory was like from a small yell, the whole explosion was done, which was a very high inflation radiation, then the COB, then the cooling and then the universe was formed. Theories about the possible fate of the universe. One is the open universe, second is the closed universe and the third is the flat universe. Now what is open universe? The universe will expand outward forever. That is the main definition of the open universe. Eventually the universe will fade into a cold dark void, means it will keep on expanding and at last nothing will be remaining because it will go on keeping away from each other. Flat universe, that the universe will neither expand forever or collapse. Eventually expansion will stop, means it will it is as it is from the beginning till the end. These are the steps of the open universe, means beginning, that is the Big Bang theory, and then billions of years ago the explosion, means the expansion takes place. Present it is still expanding and after expanding nothing remains. This is the steps in the open universe. Now what is a closed universe? In closed universe, the universe will eventually stop expanding and begin to contract. The universe will fall back together to a big crunch. Means the expanded universe, it will again go back into the closed realm that was before. Now the oscillating universe, idea that the new universe is created after each big bang and crunch. The universe may expand and contract eternally, creating a new universe each time. Means it keeps on contracting and expansion, and the thing goes on. So the steps in the closed universe are beginning, and then the expansion, still expanding, that is the present. Now after billions of years it will be fully expanded, and then it will keep on contracting, and then as it was in the beginning it will be again formed. Now steady state theory. This theory proposes that the universe is same everywhere and for all the time, both in the past and in the future. Means the flat universe and steady state theory is almost the same. But calculation suggests that the universe is still expanding. So in order to maintain this constant state, matter must constantly be created out of nothing. A steady state universe has no beginning or end in the time, and from any point within in the view on the grand scale, that is the average density and arrangement of the galaxy is the same. So single steady state theory is the same. Means the movement keeps on occurring but the universe is as it is. Oscillating universe theory. Most astronomers agree that the universe is expanding. Some believe that at some stage in the future the universe will stop expanding and begin to contract. This is what meant by oscillating, which is the step forward and backward, as we explained, motion of the expansion and contraction of the universe. Big crunch is the same thing, that in the beginning, from the yelm, the whole universe was formed, and now it will contract, crunch back into the same yelm. Now design of the universe. Galaxy. What is a galaxy? It is the basic unit of the universe made of. Galaxy is made up of billions of stars. Our galaxy is the Milky Way, as we all know. It is 1 lakh light years across, 10,000 light years thick, 200 billion stars are present. This is the whole Milky Way structure. Exactly when the first life on Earth was formed, the ancestors of modern bacteria began is the subject of debate, but the evidence suggests that it could be as much as 3.5 billion years ago. Early bacterial life introduced oxygen to the atmosphere, as the first free oxygen was released to the photosynthesis by cyanobacteria. Now the solar system. We all know that we live in the solar system. The Earth is the part of, or a family of, the solar system. Sun. What is the sun? The sun is the brightest and the hottest object in the solar system. The sun is an ordinary star. The sun is made up of 70% hydrogen and 28% helium. Now Mercury, this is the first planet. It is solid and is covered with craters. Mercury has no atmosphere and it is the 8th largest planet. Venus is the 6th largest planet. It is about 3/4 of the size of Earth. The surface is rocky and very hot. The atmosphere completely hides the surface and traps the heat. Earth is the 5th largest planet and the 3rd from the sun. Liquid covers 71% of the Earth's surface, and the Earth has one moon, that is our moon. Now Mars is the 4th planet from the sun. Mars has a thin atmosphere that contains mostly carbon dioxide. Mars has 2 moons. Now we know that Mars planet is not unknown to us. We have sent many of our rockets and satellites over there too. Jupiter's red spot, the great red spot on the huge storm of swirling gas that has lasted for hundreds of years. Jupiter does not have a solid surface. The planet is a ball of liquid surrounded by the gas. Now Saturn is the 2nd largest planet and the 6th from the sun. Saturn is made up of materials that are lighter than water. If you could fit Saturn in a lake, it would float because it is not dense. Now Saturn has rings, as we all know. Saturn's rings are not solid, they are composed of small countless particles. The rings are very thin, though they are 250,000 km or more in diameter, they are less than 1 km thick. The thickness is very less. Now Uranus is the 3rd largest planet and the 7th from the sun. Uranus is one of the giant gas planet. It is blue-green because of the methane in its atmosphere. Neptune is the 4th largest planet and the 8th from the sun. Because of the orbits from 1979 to 1999, the Neptune was the 9th planet. Like Uranus, Pluto is the last planet, it is the smallest planet and usually the farthest from the sun. Pluto is the only planet that has not been visited by the spacecraft. Now atmosphere of the primitive Earth. Now primitively we knew that the atmosphere was very extreme. It composed of only hydrogen and helium, as we learnt in the universe. These gases are relatively rare on the Earth compared to the other places in the universe and were probably lost to the space early in Earth's history because Earth's gravity is not strong enough to hold lighter gases. Earth still did not have to differentiated core, that is solid or liquid, solid inner and liquid outer. It was not differentiated, which created the Earth's magnetic field, which deflects the solar winds. Once the core differentiated, the heavier gases could be retained. This is the imaginary picture of the extreme climate during our primitive Earth. Now second atmosphere was produced by the volcanic outgassing. Gases produced were similar to those created by the modern volcanoes, that is H2O, CO2, SO2, etc. and ammonia and methane. No free O2 at this time because there was no living organism. Ocean formation as the earth cooled, H2O was produced by gassing out and could not exist as a liquid in the early Archean and that time, allowing the oceans to form. Evidence are pillow basals, deep marine sets in the greenstone belts. Today atmosphere is approximately 21% of free oxygen because of the photochemical dissociation, that is breakup of the water molecule by ultraviolet rays, and next is the photosynthesis, that is the plants, the green plants and the autotrophic bacteria could start making oxygen, means they use CO2 and water to form oxygen and the glucose, that is their food. Oxygen consumers then were produced, that is the chemical weathering to oxidation of the surface materials, animal respiration which was much later, and the burning of the fossil fuels. In ecology and biology, abiotic components or abiotic factors are those non-living chemicals and physical parts of the environment that affect the ecosystem, means they are non-living. In biology, abiotic factors can include water, light, radiation, temperature, humidity, atmosphere and soil. The microscopic climate often influences each of the above. Pressure and sound waves may be considered in the context of marine or subterrestrial environments. Light is one of the abiotic factor. Light energy, that is the sunlight, is the primary source of the energy in nearly all ecosystem. It is the energy that is used by green plants which contain chlorophyll during the process of photosynthesis, a process during which plant manufacture organic substance by combining inorganic substances. Visible light is of the greatest importance of plants because it is necessary for photosynthesis. The second abiotic factor is water. Plants and animals' habitats vary from entirely aquatic environments to very dry deserts. Water is essential for life and all living organisms depend on it to survive. We all know that. Now atmospheric gases. The most important gases used by plants and animals are oxygen, carbon dioxide and nitrogen. Oxygen is used by the living organism during respiration. Carbon dioxide used by green plants for photosynthesis, and nitrogen is available to plants by certain bacteria through action of lightning. Now environmental balance. The balance of the nature is a theory that proposes that the ecological systems are usually in stable, that is stable condition, homeostasis, which is to say that the small changes in some particular parameter, that the size of the particular population for example will be corrected by some negative feedback, that will they bring the parameter back to the point of balance with the rest of the system. It may apply where population depend on each other, means the food chain, the predator and prey system. Now balance in oxygen and carbon dioxide in air. It involves the process of respiration and photosynthesis. In respiration, oxygen and glucose are combined, releasing energy and producing water and carbon dioxide. In photosynthesis, water and carbon dioxide along with the energy from sun are combined to produce glucose and oxygen. Each process complements the other and the ecosystem maintains its balanced communities. This is the cycle, means from the plants the oxygen is produced by photosynthesis, then the animals use it and then again they respire out carbon dioxide, and now the industries are also using oxygen and respiring the carbon dioxide out. Now thermal or heat balance of the earth. Thermal balance occurs when sum of all the different types of heat flow into and out of the earth is 0. That is, the earth is losing as much as heat as it gains, so it can be said in the equilibrium condition. Incoming heat being absorbed by the earth and outgoing heat escaping the earth in form of radiation are both perfectly balanced. If they were not balanced, then the earth would be getting either progressively warmer or progressively cooler with each passing year. This balance between the incoming and outgoing heat is known as the earth's heat budget. Means the balance is maintained, the heat balance is maintained. While the heat balance is balanced, the interaction that takes place as heat and electromagnetic radiation interaction with earth and its many objects, oceans and atmosphere are complex. Overall, the balance, however, some places are hotter or cooler days and in others day out. This is the main heat budget of the earth. Means the solar radiation falls, some of them are deflected back from the atmosphere, some are deflected back from the sea, and some are deflected back from the land, and then only 50% of the solar energy reaches the earth. So it is absorbed and passed out throughout the many different parts of the planet. This electromagnetic energy travels through the earth at light speed in form of ultraviolet radiation, visible light and infrared radiation. When this energy reaches the earth, immediately 30%, as we saw in the figure before, it bounces off, and so what is available is the 50%. Then the ability to reflect the light and radiation of the sun is known as the object's albedo. Because the earth reflects 30% of the light that hits it, it is said that the earth has an albedo of 30. Because 30% of the electromagnetic energy from the sun has been reflected away, only 70% remains into interaction with the earth and warm up, out of which 20 of the energy from the sun is absorbed by the atmosphere as the whole heating up process, and this leaves only 50% of the sun energy to heat both the surface of the earth as well as the oceans, lakes and streams. Now, balance between the predator and the prey. What is a predator? The predator is an organism that eats another organism. The prey is an organism which the predator eats. This is the definition of the predator and prey. Some examples of the predator and prey are lion and zebra, bear and fish, fox and rabbit. The fox eats the rabbit. So the fox is the predator and rabbit is the prey. The words predator and prey are almost used to mean only animals that eat animals, but same concept can be also applied in plants. That is, bear eats the berry, rabbit and eats the lettuce, and grasshopper and eats the leaf. So the predator and prey, they evolve together. The prey is the part of the predator's environment, and the predator dies if it does not get food. So it evolves whatever is necessary to eat the prey. That is the speed, the stealth, the color, the smell, sight or hearing. And the prey in the vice versa, it creates or it has an ability to protect itself from the predator. So it will avoid getting eaten by the predator. So they will also develop the color, a good sense of smell, sight or hearing, thorns, etc. Predators are often other organisms' prey, and likewise preys are often other predator. Means the whole web is formed. One prey can be the predator of the other prey. Predators may increase the biodiversity of the communities by preventing a single species from becoming dominant. Introduction or removal of this predator or change in its population density can have drastic cascading effect on the equilibrium of many population in the ecosystem. Means, as you can see, the producers are in the maximum number, the herbivorous are in a less amount, primary carnivores are in less number, while the top carnivores are in the least number. So if predator overhunts the prey population, it will lower the number that are too scarce for the predators to find. This will cause a full imbalance between the predator and the prey balance. The decrease in the predators will allow the small number of prey left to slowly increase their population to somewhere around the previous abundance, which will allow the predator population to increase in response to the greater availability of the resources. If the predator hunts its prey to the number too low to sustain the population, in the short term they can get extinct. And alternatively, prey species would help to lift some of the predation pressure from the initial prey species, giving the population a chance to recover. However, it is not a guarantee that the initial prey species will be able to recover, as the initial prey population might have been hunted to below sustainable numbers or to complete extinction. So there are a whole web, means one predator can have different types of prey. Thank you.